Everyone remembers Kevin Garnett screaming, "Anything is possible," after winning the 2008 championship.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible!
The iconic image of three aging superstars finally getting their ring. Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett, the big three that brought Boston back from the dead. But here's what most people don't realize about how it all fell apart. The same chemistry that won them a championship became so toxic that teammates refused to speak to each other. Ray Allen received death threats from Boston fans that lasted nearly a decade, and the bitter end of their partnership accidentally set up the greatest championship run in Celtics history. The question isn't what made the Big Three special. It's why they couldn't stand each other when it mattered most. Let's start with just how bad things were in Boston before 2007. The Celtics had just finished 24-58, dead last in the Eastern Conference. This wasn't just a bad season, it was a franchise in complete freefall. Paul Pierce, the lone all-star on a roster full of rookies, was walking into the locker room after losses wondering how his career had gone so wrong. "I had pretty strong thoughts that I wouldn't even be here this year," Pierce admitted later. He was seriously considering asking for a trade. But Danny Ainge had been quietly stockpiling assets for exactly this moment. 2 blockbuster trades in the span of a month would change everything. First, draft night 2007. Ainge traded the 5th overall pick, Delonte West, and Wally Szczerbiak to Seattle for Ray Allen. Allen was actually plan B. The real target was Kevin Garnett, but KG had refused to commit to a contract extension with Boston. Then, something shifted.
Maybe it was seeing Allen join the mix, maybe it was Ray personally recruiting his old high school teammate, but suddenly Garnett was willing to listen. July 31st, 2007. The Celtics traded away 5 players, 2 draft picks, and cash for Kevin Garnett. It was the largest trade for a single player in NBA history. Pierce, who had been carrying Boston alone for years, finally had legitimate help. The question was whether 3 aging stars could actually play together. The chemistry was immediate and undeniable. Critics wondered if they could gel quickly enough to compete. They won their first 8 games straight. By the time the season was over, they had posted a 66-16 record, a 42-game improvement. That's still the biggest single-season turnaround in NBA history. Garnett anchored the defense and won Defensive Player of the Year. Pierce had finally found his rhythm as the clutch scorer who didn't have to do everything. Allen spread the floor with that pure jump shot and hit timely buckets when it mattered. But the real revelation was the defense. Under Doc Rivers and assistant coach Tom Thibodeau, they allowed only 98.9 points per 100 possessions. That defensive rating led the league by a massive margin. The playoffs were a different beast. They needed 7 games to beat the 8th-seeded Hawks, 7 more to get past LeBron and the Cavaliers. The Eastern Conference Finals against Detroit, finally, some dominance in 6 games. And then the finals. The Lakers with Kobe Bryant at his absolute peak. It went 6 games, but Game 6 was pure domination. 131-92, a complete blowout on their home court. Ray Allen hit 7 3-pointers that night. Pierce won Finals MVP for his incredible series, and Garnett's celebration became instant legend. Anything is possible. At that moment, everything seemed perfect, but championship teams have a funny way of hiding their problems. The issues started almost immediately. Not with the Big Three themselves, but with the young point guard they were developing. Rajon Rondo had been the dutiful student during that championship season. He followed Ray Allen around like a little brother, even copying his pregame routine. But as Rondo's talent emerged, the dynamic started shifting. Allen believed in discipline, structure, and meticulous preparation. Rondo was raw talent and instinct, more chaotic, less predictable. What started as a mentor-student relationship became something much more complicated. In 2009, trade rumors started swirling that both Allen and Rondo might be shipped to Phoenix. The rumors were never substantiated, but they planted seeds of resentment. Allen felt like the organization was shopping him around. Rondo felt like he was being lumped together with someone he was starting to clash with. And then the real problems began. According to multiple teammates, Allen and Rondo got into physical altercations at practice. Not just arguments, actual boxing matches that had to be broken up. Allen would later say that Rondo stopped passing him the ball entirely. During games, Rondo would look Allen off even when he was wide open.
and Rondo allegedly promised Allen he would get his ass out of here by the end of the season. This was happening on a team that was still competing for championships. Garnett's knee injury in 2009 cost them a potential repeat. They made it back to the finals in 2010, only to lose to the Lakers in 7 games. But internally, the fractures were getting worse. The question was whether they could hold it together long enough for one more run. By 2012, a new threat had emerged in the Eastern Conference. LeBron James had joined Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh in Miami. The Heat had formed their own Big Three, directly inspired by what Boston had accomplished. And they were younger, hungrier, and arguably more talented. The 2012 Eastern Conference Finals came down to 7 games. Boston took a 3-2 lead and seemed destined for another finals appearance. But Miami won the final 2 games, ending the Celtics' championship window. That summer, Ray Allen became a free agent. What happened next shocked everyone. Boston offered Allen a 2-year, $12 million contract with a no-trade clause. It was more money than he would get anywhere else, but Allen had grown frustrated with his reduced role. Doc Rivers had moved him to the bench in favor of young Avery Bradley. The organization had been shopping him in trade rumors for months, and the relationship with Rondo had become completely toxic. So Allen made a choice that still reverberates today. He signed with the Miami Heat for 2 years and $6.3 million, nearly half of what Boston had offered. He was joining the team that had just eliminated them. In Allen's mind, he was choosing the best chance for another championship. To his former teammates, he had committed the ultimate betrayal.
The reaction in Boston was swift and vicious. Garnett claimed he had lost Allen's phone number. During their first meeting as opponents, when Allen tried to give Garnett a friendly greeting, KG turned away with an ice-cold shoulder. Paul Pierce felt personally betrayed, claiming Allen had ghosted him during the entire free agency process. Rajon Rondo was the most vocal about his anger. To go with the enemy, Rondo said, that's unheard of in sports. But the fans took it to another level entirely. Vendors outside TD Garden sold Judas Shuttlesworth t-shirts. Allen started receiving death threats that would continue for nearly a decade. You're talking about 9 years now, and I've gotten so much hate. Death threats, vitriol from Boston fans, Allen said in 2020. The irony was that Allen's decision proved absolutely correct. Miami won the championship in 2013 with Allen hitting one of the most clutch shots in finals history. Game 6 against San Antonio, that corner three-pointer to force overtime. Meanwhile, the Celtics struggled without him. They made the playoffs in 2013, but were eliminated in the first round by the Knicks. The remaining Big Three core was clearly aging and declining. But here's where the story takes its most interesting turn. Danny Ainge knew the championship window was closing. In June 2013, he made one of the most important trades in franchise history. He sent Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett to the Brooklyn Nets. In return, he got 4 future first-round draft picks. At the time, it looked like Boston was selling their legends for magic beans. Pierce and Garnett were headed to Brooklyn to try one last championship run. The Nets thought they were getting proven winners to pair with their other expensive veterans.
Instead, Brooklyn became one of the most expensive disasters in NBA history. Those draft picks, they turned into something extraordinary. The 2016 pick became Jaylen Brown. The 2017 pick became Jayson Tatum, the 2 players who would eventually bring Boston their 18th championship. Ray Allen's departure had started a domino effect that led directly to Banner 18. If Allen had stayed, the Big Three might have held on for another year or 2. Ainge might not have felt the urgency to trade Pierce and Garnett when he did. Those Brooklyn picks might not have been available. The betrayal that broke Celtics fans' hearts was actually the first step toward their greatest triumph. Today, the relationships have mostly healed. Allen and Pierce made peace a few years ago. He even attended the 2024 championship celebration, standing alongside his former Big Three partners. Garnett remains the holdout, still unwilling to fully forgive. But the bigger legacy is what they started. The 2008 Celtics created the modern superteam blueprint. Miami's Big Three formed specifically in response to what Boston had accomplished. The Warriors added Kevin Durant after watching how dominant star partnerships could be. Every major player movement since 2007 can be traced back to what Ainge did that summer. But there's a deeper irony here. The 2024 Celtics that won Banner 18 were built on the opposite philosophy. Instead of 3 aging superstars, they had 2 young stars and incredible depth. Instead of trading everything for immediate success, they built sustainably through the draft. The Big Three era taught Boston how to win, but it also taught them what not to do.
Tatum and Brown were drafted together, grew up together, and never had the ego conflicts that destroyed the previous generation. They won their championship as 26 and 27-year-olds, not 32 and 33-year-olds fighting Father Time. The most successful thing the Big Three ever did might have been falling apart, because in their failure, they created the foundation for something even greater. Ray Allen was right about one thing. He made the choice that gave him the best chance to win. He just didn't realize he was also giving Boston the best chance to build a dynasty. The math is actually staggering when you think about it. Allen's departure triggered a cascade of events that took exactly 6 years to fully materialize. 2012, Allen leaves for Miami. 2013, Pierce and Garnett get traded to Brooklyn for picks. 2016, the Celtics use one of those picks to draft Jaylen Brown 3rd overall. 2017, they use another Brooklyn pick to trade up for Jayson Tatum. 2024, Tatum and Brown lead Boston to their 18th championship, breaking the tie with the Lakers. Every domino had to fall perfectly. But there's an even deeper layer to this story that most people miss. The 2024 Celtics didn't just win differently than the Big Three, they were built to avoid the exact problems that destroyed their predecessors. No ego battles over who gets the most shots, no aging superstars fighting Father Time and each other. Instead, they had 2 young stars who genuinely liked each other, surrounded by the deepest roster in the league. Jayson Tatum averaged 22.2 points in the finals. Jaylen Brown averaged 20.8 and won Finals MVP. You know what those numbers represent? Perfect balance. Something the original Big Three never quite achieved. Pierce, Garnett, and Allen had to sacrifice their individual games to fit together. Tatum and Brown grew up learning how to complement each other from day one. The difference between forced chemistry and natural evolution. And the strangest part? Ray Allen was there to witness it all. When the 2024 Celtics celebrated Banner 18 at their ring ceremony, Allen sat courtside with Pierce and Garnett. The 3 former teammates who couldn't stand each other finally sharing the same space again. I think more than anything, it's for the fans, Allen explained later. When you win a championship, that's a forever thing. But was it really just for the fans? Or was it something deeper? A recognition that their broken brotherhood had somehow created something beautiful. The 2008 championship team had finally found peace. Not with each other necessarily, but with what they had started. Garnett's "anything is possible" became prophetic in ways he never imagined. Not just for that moment in 2008, but for the next generation watching from the sidelines. Young Celtics fans who witnessed that championship celebration grew up dreaming of bringing another banner to Boston. Some of those fans became the front office executives who drafted Tatum and Brown. Others became the coaches who developed them into champions. The Big Three's legacy wasn't just about basketball strategy or superteam construction. It was about showing an entire generation what was possible when you were willing to sacrifice everything for a championship. Pierce gave up being the sole focus of the offense. Garnett left Minnesota, where he was beloved, to chase a ring. Allen accepted a smaller role and eventually chose winning over money or loyalty.
Each sacrifice taught the next generation a different lesson. Sometimes the greatest victory comes from knowing when to let go. Sometimes betrayal is just another word for transformation. And sometimes the most important thing a championship team can do is know when to break apart. The Big Three Celtics lasted exactly as long as they needed to. Long enough to win a championship and change the league forever, short enough to avoid becoming a cautionary tale about holding on too long. Their one banner created the foundation for 5 more. Their chemistry breakdown taught Boston how to build sustainable chemistry. Their quote-unquote failure to win multiple championships became the blueprint for a dynasty. Ray Allen was right when he said anything is possible. He just never realized he was talking about the team he left behind. The Big Three Celtics won one championship, but their real legacy was teaching Boston how to win the next 5. They couldn't stay together, but they set up something that could last forever.